We're now at the very end of this lecture. I think I will skip the long list of salutations and just do what Nigerian friends tend to do and say all protocol observed. Now, I would like to basically start off by offering my sincere condolences to the Kwapong family on the recent passing of their mother, Mrs. Evelyn Tieko Kwapong. It was indeed with a great sadness that I heard of her passing. And as the saying goes, that the death of a mother is the first sorrow wept without her. And my hope is that with this lecture, that the family of Professor Kwapong would be comforted by the wonderful and indelible legacy that he has left us with. And it is my hope also that these lecture series would actually outlast the very institutions that created it. Thank you also to Karantama. Karantama, thank you very much for agreeing, for accepting, for you and INRA to name these lecture series after your dear father, so thank you very much. But thank you for the exceptionally hard work that you employed in ensuring that we have a befitting lecture, inaugural lecture. We're very, very grateful to you. I would also like to thank the Vice Chancellor. He's not here, but from the very first time I talked to him about a lecture, he was very accommodating, very supportive. And we worked very closely, he worked very closely with his team to make the lecture series happen. So I'd like to thank the Vice Chancellor. Medasi, I believe that's a word in. Thank you also, Professor Adum, for your words, very insightful words that has helped us to know who the man is behind the great scholarly work that Professor Kwapong has left us with. And at this juncture, I would also like to thank Dr. Lotier. I mean, I marvel at just the richness of her lecture, but I marvel at the calm, the way, I mean, Bernard said that this was the longest title. And in the title, there is something along the lines of blind alleys. And I think, Dr. Lotier, you guided us through those dark and blind alleys very well, with all the acrobatics and the light. You stayed true, you were positive, you were calm, and I think that really made for a very successful lecture. I just had one thing I wanted to just cite, because just to give you a sense, a colleague from the Energy Commission just sent a WhatsApp and says, thank you so much for this invitation. This lecture, Dr. Lotier gave me a whole semester of lecture. So that was just to give you a sense of just how immensely rich that. I think, as I said, you stayed cool and you stayed completely unfazed. And I like the array of metaphors. I've never heard so many metaphors before. The metaphors, the parallel, the similes, they were all in there. So thank you for this great imagery that, you know, as we listen to the lecture, we could also visualize some of what you were saying, because behind all of this is very complex scientific knowledge, but you're able to break it down into little chunks and bits that we all appreciated, and I'm sure we'll go away with as useful takeaways. I feel that you have fed our mind, our intellectual appetite, and this is really good. I also just wanted to say that one of the things I liked about the lecture is that you gave us an array of options that we can tap into for transformational development related to innovation, to technology, and to infrastructure. I like the fact that you did not single out technology as the holy grail, and also that in your lecture, you talked about the fact that technology really does work best in an ecosystem of knowledge, of innovation, of leadership, and strong governance. All of those have to be part of that mold. I have already thanked the Vice-Chancellor, but I would like to thank the University of Ghana to say that we at UNU are very proud to be associated with the University of Ghana. We have similar mantras, and that's a strive for excellence. And this is a platform where we hope we can bring people to not just talk about these issues. We didn't have time for questions, but we hope that in the next lectures we can also contest, interrogate some of these findings. This is why we want to have this lecture series. I believe Professor Kwapong was a classic scholar. And I hope he wouldn't mind my citing Plato. I couldn't resist it, because Plato said that human behavior flows from three main sources: emotion, desire, and knowledge. And this lecture series is much desired, but it also helped us, I would say, to carve out a space, an intellectual space, an emotional space, a knowledge space, where we can identify some of these blind alleys, where we can take a closer look at some of the uncertainties, and where we can debunk many of the myths. And hopefully we can also build a strong infrastructure of stakeholders, scholarship, and inquiring minds at the service of development. I was also wanting to say a few things, and I hope, Karantima, everyone spoke about Professor Kwapong. And in this Me Too, globalized Me Too, global Me Too movement, I hope it's still okay and permissible to just say all the things that were said about Professor Kwapong. One thing wasn't said, and that's just how handsome and stately he was. But the one thing I want to say, and to end, is that when I read his memoirs, and these were the memoirs that Karantima so kindly gifted me, I was really struck by the completeness of his vision. Not only for Ghana, but for Africa, and I believe that was also mentioned by Professor Fenning. And the passion that he had for knowledge, the passion that he had for capacity building, both institutional and human capacity, and the way in which he passionately believed that knowledge could be put to the service of development. And I want to just cite Professor Kwapong, because this was something that Dr. Lotie did very well today in deconstructing this narrative. Because Professor Kwapong believed in an Africa of plenty, and that was something that Dr. Lotie did very well. A frontier region, and a continent with countless aces, and the human capital is part of these aces, not the people of Africa. And Kwapong in his memoirs, and I quote, "Where will Africa be in this unfolding multipolar world? Meeting the challenges of capacity building and human resource development in Africa holds the key to the future. I believe all of us around this table share the conviction that provided Africa gives, not only in theory, but in practice, the highest priority to meeting the challenges of rebuilding its human, institutional, and technical capacity base, and in effectively mobilizing and utilizing its skilled human resource endowment, surely the best resource endowment of any people, the development future of Africa is not foreclosed." End of quote. And I think that one of the things that Dr. Lotie did today was to break ranks with this sort of doom and gloom narrative that we tend to hear about Africa. What we want with this lecture series, and what Dr. Lotie has done, is to give us a very inspiring, a can-do, a hopeful lecture that has, I feel, has at least left me with a strong sentiment that when all the fundamentals are aligned, that Africa can design, can manage, can expand its huge natural resource base into a world economy in which it can be counted as an emerging new force. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you, because without you we wouldn't have a lecture. So thank you all for coming, and for making time, for the staying power. You stayed with us in spite of all the problems we had with the lights. Thank you for coming and for staying. This has gone a long way, I think, in enabling a very healthy and a very productive conversation. It's the beginning of a series of conversation. And we'd like to thank you all for your participation and your attendance here today. Thank you very much. Dr. Loche, just as an appreciation of you and you, INRA, and thanks to you. This is a small token of that appreciation. Thank you so very, very much. Thank you.
Okay, so that's a beautiful kente patterned design thingy. Please put your hands together one more time. Thank you. Wow. So we can crown you with that. Thank you. Beautiful.